NEWS.MC on Monaco Info is brought to you by Monaco Legend Properties. Our exclusive interview with the personalities making the Principality.
My name is Peter Kütemann. I'm the chairman and founder of Dietsmann. I'm born in a family of civil servants. My father was a civil servant. He was a civil servant in the Dutch telecommunication. So I was destined also to become a civil servant. And so I started to work also for the Dutch PTT when I was young. I didn't like what I saw because nobody worked. And my mother was a little bit more entrepreneurial always. I left, and that was a big tragedy in the family because Peter is lost. And Peter will never make it. But Peter has a character. If you say you cannot do it, I show that I can. So that was basically my motivation to start as a freelance salesman first. I could sell. I didn't know that, but I could sell. I was successful. And I started to work for a company supplying technical personnel. I liked it. I was very successful. I was the most successful in the company, which they didn't like. So I had a fight with the management and I left and I started my own company in the Netherlands. First of all, supplying technical personnel for overhaul of power stations. I saw that there was a need because there were monopolies and I could do it much cheaper. Then I got contracts for the Dutch power agency, at the time it was all government. But the power stations were overhauled only in summer period, because in winter period they had to generate power. So I didn't have work in the winter, so I was looking for a possibility to find work in the winter. And I went to the Dutch Navy. They had a campaign to overhaul the gas turbines of the fleet. And I said, I have very good turbine teams who are almost idle in winter. Can you use them? So I got the Navy as a client and then I had a business. And then the Dutch offshore started. And I saw all these Americans, with golden Rolexes and golden going around. I said, wow, there must be money made there. So I went offshore. I had a chance from a friend with a Dutch oil company to take me on a helicopter and go offshore. And I was amazed. I thought, this is going to be it. I'm the only Dutch guy there. Now I'm going to start a company. So I sold my Dutch business and I made my first million guilders at the time. I started Dietsmann. Very, very, very humble, very small, supplying technical personnel to one of the first operators in the North Sea, which was Petrolon. Petrolon was at the time Elva-G10. I put my office at the heliport, so to be close as possible to the work site. It took a year before I was trying to get other clients, like Shell and others, but they never did that. So I thought either I'm crazy or Petrolon is crazy. But after a year I got my second small contract. And for Shell. But still small, if you have one or two contracts, you have a business, you don't have a company. And then the third year, I got a third contract from an American company, Union Oil. And with the third contract, I had enough people to be called a company. So at that time, I had a company. And at that time, the Dutch continental shelf was outside territorial waters. And I had to compete with American contractors and even Portuguese contractors who were not in the Dutch social system. So they were much cheaper. Then I was advised, if I have my administration outside of Netherlands, then I would also be considered an offshore company. And that's how I came to Monaco. I had a friend who had a shipping agent here, Plastimona, and I could use his administration to do for me. Dietsmann was slowly growing, and his agency was shipping management company was slowly decreasing. And at one point in 81, I decided to buy the company. He became my partner in Dietsmann. And we changed the company, which was at the time called Big Trekkers SAM, into Dietsmann SAM. So since 81, our international coordination center and administration center is in Monaco. We are mainly focused also through history. I started in the North Sea, and in the 80s we were quite big in the North Sea. They went to the UK, and then the margins went down because everybody saw it's a good business, maintenance and operation. And so margins went down, went down, went down. And then I got a chance to start in Africa. So, and since then we have been in Africa, and we are market leader in Africa because we have always hired local personnel, trained them up to our standards. And now we have a large African workforce, thousands of local people work all their life for us, and they made career, etc., etc. That's why I said I love Africa. We expanded in Middle East, we expanded in Eastern Africa, in Eastern Europe. We started in Russia 17 years ago, I think it was. First for the Western oil companies, for Shell, for Total. We started in the power sector in Russia for Enel, who bought a big power company. We were very big. We also there applied our policy to hire local personnel. So we trained Russians, and that was quite interesting. We bought a Russian company from Enel because they could not manage to control it, basically because of corruption. You know, the Russian working method was always centrally managed. Working methods were based on a menu. For example, the most simple work was paid lowest per hour. Like, for example, oiling a bearing was paid very low. Replacing the bearing was paid a little bit more, but replacing the rotor was very well paid. So what they did, they didn't oil. So what happens, the bearing broke. If the bearing broke, the rotor starts vibrating, and they replaced the rotor, and they were paid a lot. That was their working method. And so we changed that over time, with lots of protests, of course, to say we work result-oriented. The less breakdowns you have, the more running hours you have, the more bonus you get. Our clients are big energy companies or national oil companies also, and we maintain their sites. Now, and our specialty is to do that in countries, regions with limited infrastructure. So the client has a problem. Maintenance in France, in UK is no problem because on every corner you have a workshop, not in Africa. Here you find a lot of specialists, not in Africa. And that resulted in building up a good reputation in maintenance, and that resulted that the client said, why don't you run the plant for us? So it's operation and maintenance. And maintenance, depending on the format of contract, responsible for the output of the plant. Less breakdowns, less spare parts, less overhauls, etc., etc. So it's result-oriented, and we like that because we are very good in maintenance. We understand the plant, we understand the machines. People are for many, many years in the plants. They can hear the sounds. But maintenance was always based on, when something breaks, you repair it. We had a chance to start in Angola. I had from the UK a client which was at the time Texaco, American company, and one of their managers was placed to Angola where they started up their first offshore production. So he said, come to see me. So I went to Angola, and that was in the time of the war. So we landed there with a very old plane from TAP, because they were the only one flying from Lisbon to Luanda. On the airport 14 Fevereiro, there were no buses, no taxis, no transport to town, and I had to go to the Texaco guest house because there were no offices. So with my sales manager, we walked with our suitcases 14 kilometers to town. It was, when we arrived, it was night, what to do. So on the end, we found the Dutch consulate, because I'm Dutch. Went to the Dutch consulate, was closed. So we knocked on the door, and a local secretary opened, and we said, it's our Dutch passport, can we talk to the Dutch consul? No, the Dutch consul is sleeping. So wake him up, we have a problem, we want to sleep somewhere. No, cannot do. So that was the help of the Dutch consulate. But she said, go to this company, it's a Dutch company, they have a small factory here, and maybe they help you. So we went there in town, it was an old building, and we entered a big room with neon light, very white, and we saw 3 blonde guys, and they were Dutch. And I said, we need to sleep somewhere, we need a Texaco guest house. Of course, they didn't know where it was, but he said, use my driver, he will find it. So he gave us his driver, and we found the Texaco guest house. And that's how we started in Angola. My wife always supported me because she knew I was adventurous. When I left this company where I had a good paid job and to start from my own, she said, it's good that you do it because I see that you're not happy. And in fact, I traveled all the world, all the time. I was always away. So my wife grew up with the children. We were always at home. I was always at home when in the school vacation. So we had no quantity time, but we had quality time. But in between, I was in Africa, I was in the States, I was in the Middle East, I was always traveling. And at the time, of course, we didn't have much money, so I traveled economy, and even worse, we traveled as seamen. I had a seaman booklet, and you can travel for 30% discount. When we bought an Italian company at the time from E&I, it was called Comarint, and this Italian guy, we hired an Italian guy, Marco Arata. He worked many years with us. He's now retired. He was so funny. He said, I know something better. Near to the Vatican, there's a small shop where you can buy these clothes for priests. And if you travel as a priest, you pay 50% of the ticket. So several times we bought a ticket to Africa from Rome. We dressed like this, and you got 50% discount. That's adventure, I became only a resident in 1990 because at the time, it was not necessary. We moved with my wife to Belgium. Our children and grandchildren still live in Belgium. That's why we still have a house there. And so we only when the children gone to university and went out of the house, we decided to move to Monte-Carlo, because I came a lot in Monte-Carlo because my office was here. I liked it. It was safe. It was peaceful. It was well organized, and still is good organized. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, what you want is a regime that is stability. Fiscal, legal context is stable. We had also a coordination office in Belgium one time, because at the time there was a fiscal rule in Belgium that if you coordinate your international activities from Belgium, and you were considered a coordination office, you would only pay tax on the cost of the office. Many big companies had a coordination office in Brussels and in Belgium. And at a certain point, this law was scrapped and it was finished and everybody left. So we moved what we had in Belgium also to Monaco, and that's why Monaco became our international support and coordination center. So call it the head office, but it's not the head office. First of all, I don't like the word head office, because if people working head office, they believe they're more important than the people that make the money on site. And I don't want it. They need to serve the people on site. They have a difficult life, and here in Monaco they don't have a difficult life. And that's the mentality of the company. It's a very cosmopolitan city. Basically, it's a city-state where the majority of residents are a melting pot of all nationalities, which creates a special dynamic, because you're not considered, this is the Dutch guy. No, you're one of them. If I would live in France, they talk about, this is the Dutchman. If a Frenchman lives in Germany, he said, it's the Franzose. In Monaco, you don't have that. And that gives a special dynamic, creates creativity. It creates people interested in society. You have many associations here, many events here. And it's stable. Like I said, the legal context and the fiscal context is stable. It's safe. My wife can walk here with a Rolex. I don't have a Rolex, I have an iWatch, but my wife walks with in Belgium or in Amsterdam. You cannot do that. They cut off your arm. Where can you do that? It's in Monaco. I remember with my parents we went to vacation in Bardolino, I remember as a child. Maybe we've passed by Monaco, but I don't remember that. But for my own, I came on my own in 77, and I liked it. It was quiet. We rented an apartment. It was in the Saint Juan, and every morning I drank a coffee at the cafe next door and I walked. It was very quiet. We know each other. You knew your neighbors. It was very peaceful. This is not. It has become very crowded now in Monaco. When I was young, I was a motorbike racer, amateur, not pro, but I liked motorbikes. I did several championships. I was a sponsor of Ducati Corse in the World Championship. We contracted Carl Fogarty, who went 3 times World Championship with our logo. I'm still friend with the team. So I was racing myself, and I had a lot of fun there. Of course, I broke everything that you can break, but a good motorcyclist doesn't walk straight. And then at a certain race in Zandvoort, was very convivial. All the teams worked together. A very good friend died, and then I came home. My wife already heard it, and she looked at me and she didn't say anything, but that was for me the moment that I say, I have to stop this. And then I got bored. And then a year later, I started car racing, the Ferrari Challenge. I did that for 3 years. It was very nice time. And then I started with Frenchman Jean-Michel Bourreche. He had a team, he drove in the prototype championship. I bought the championship car. And we started to make a plan to start a new class in the FIA GT, which is called NGT. With Ferrari we developed this car. We had always two cars, one with pros and one with gentleman drivers. And as you can guess, of course, the gentleman driver, they had to pay. It's a very expensive hobby, and the team always needed money. And of course, I always invested in the team because I liked it. At the end, I became owner of the team. I won some races, but I was not the fastest. It was endurance races, 6-hour races, 12-hour races, 24 races, 24-hour races. Because I was the oldest. And I'm not, if you're old, you're not a sprinter anymore. But, these young drivers, they want every lap, they want to make a record. And one day, one point, when they get tired, they make a mistake. We always finished. I was not the fastest, but we always in the points. So our strategy was good, strategy on tire changes, strategy of refueling, strategy, we were very fast in driver change. And our strategy was not to go for the fastest lap, but to finish. In business it's the same. Don't be the richest, don't be the fastest, but finish. I look forward to the finalization of all the chantier. That is not comfortable in Monaco, that too many works. In front of me, we lived 27 years in the same block, and it was the best view of Monaco. I was looking at the Jardin Japonais, and thereafter the blue sea. Now, look is finished, we have the big extension in front of us. We don't see the sun coming up anymore. But okay, that's Monaco, I understand. They need to keep building to maintain the fiscal advantages and to pay for the state. I understand that, but too many at the same time, and that makes life, the quality of life less. There's too much trucks bringing products, too much dust, too much noise. So I'm look forward that the big chantier finally finished. Of course, they will have to keep building. There are not so many sites anymore that you can build, or big towers to build. So Monaco have to look at other resources of income, which is the establishment of own companies. And I think the government is pushing that. The thing is, Monaco is a very small internal market. Any company that wants to grow has to look to the international market. They can be established in Monaco, but there is a limit. But nevertheless, Monaco can create companies, also with the Monaco Ocean Protection Challenge that we have started together with the Musée Oceanographique and the University of Monaco, and now the Fondation Albert II is also partner in it. We try to engage international students into ideas of starting small enterprises based on clean oceans, and we hope they can start the companies from Monaco to help Monaco also become an important soft power and also create new enterprises in Monaco. But the limit again is Monaco internal market is very small. People believe that you can build a company only from in Monaco, maybe a restaurant or maybe a shop, but to have bigger companies you need to look at the international market. And there comes the Monaco relation to the rest of the world. That's diplomatic, that's politics. I think Monaco could do more to extend economic relations, especially within Europe. Yeah, we don't have that many guests, but because in our industry it's not so much done. There are conferences. We organize from time to time conferences in Monaco. That's well seen. Monaco still has, this reputation of being very elegant, very flashy. They like to be in Monaco. They like to have said they've been in Monaco. Often there are conferences just outside, and we invite them then to come to Monaco. For the Grand Prix, we invite usually guests here in Monaco. So that's the attractiveness of Monaco, to have seen him, to have been in Monaco. But as a resident, you don't see Monaco as a tourist destination. For many people, if you say, we are in Monaco, oh, you're in Monaco, oh, famous, very famous. I had the honor to be awarded by this decoration by Prince Albert, the Order de Saint-Charles, because my initiative to set up an association here called Monaco Impact. Monaco Impact is facilitating social impact initiatives. And one of the initiatives that we did, that we started, was the Monaco Ocean Protection Challenge. That's now going into the eighth year. Next 2025 version will be the eighth version. In fact, the idea was born together in a meeting with Robert Calcagno, a very good friend, where we discussed how we can sensibilize. It's a French word, sensibilize the young generation about the importance of the oceans. because oceans are polluted. The plastic pollution is a very big problem. We can only hope that the next generation is more sensitive about pollution and the importance of the oceans. Without oceans, we have no life. We need to sensibilize the next generation about the importance of clean oceans. And how do we do that? How do we do that? So we said we need to use social media. I'm not of the generation of social media. So I said, let's talk to the University of Monaco. They're young people from all over the world. So we talked to Jean-Philippe Muller, and he liked the idea very much. And the first was quite good. There were ideas. In the finals, I got goosebumps about the good ideas. These young people have so great ideas. And we were so enthusiastic that we did the second one, and we said we need to have more universities. So in the second year we had more universities. And now we have about 80 universities in the world. We like to engage more universities. That's why also the Fondation Albert Deux joined us to have their influence in the world through their embassies, to also engage more universities, to motivate their students to take part in this challenge. And they are presented with awards and a prize and the prestige, because the objective of the Monaco Ocean Protection Challenge is to become a very prestigious challenge for students all around the world, even if they would have participated in the challenge, that if they write it on their resume, CV, it adds to their resume. Because the next generation students are the leaders of the future. We're very, very happy that this became a success, and we strive that every year is bigger. The question about energy is, it's growing. The world population is growing, energy consumption is growing in the world. The world is not only Europe, the world is big. Africa start consuming. East Asia start consuming. We already at a certain level, they start. So energy demand is growing. There's no one energy source that can fulfill this need for energy. You need to see the energy demand as a big pie chart. Every form of energy contributes to this growth. So far, and for the next decades, that fossil fuels will be the biggest part. That's why we cannot do without fossil energy. I'm true believer that we are in an energy transition from molecular energy to electrons. This is happening. But that takes ages. It takes a long time. We believe, and the fact is, that good maintenance reduces pollution. Bad maintenance has leaks, it has explosions, it has fires. We have developed technologies to detect micro-leaks of methane. Methane is a very big polluter, very bad for the environment. Methane emissions is a huge problem, but methane emissions come from a lot of micro-leaks. And we have developed a technology, a robotic technology, to detect micro-leaks. And if you detect micro-leaks, you can intervene. Good maintenance, predictive maintenance, avoids unnecessary stop. If there's a stop of a plant, they need to flare the gas. That's why we are growing in maintenance. People realize that if you maintain your stuff better, it's cleaner for the environment. And as long as we need oil and gas, our call is to reduce emissions, not stop oil and gas production, because the world needs it, but to produce oil and gas with less emissions. We are involved in developing a hydrogen-based race car for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and the Automobile Club de West, the organizer of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and FIA wants to introduce a special race class in 2027, will probably be 2028, for hydrogen-fueled race cars. So Toyota is working on it, BMW is working, and our project is the laboratory project. It's called Mission H24. If you look at the website Mission H24, you see how sophisticated it is. And we as Dietsmann, we have a technical agreement with the development team. So we follow this development. We're also involved since many years in the building of ITER. You have heard of ITER in Cadarache. It's the biggest fusion project in the world. I believe personally that fusion and ITER is the most advanced in that, the final solution for energy. 2 years ago, I retired as CEO. I gave my function to a successor in the company. Somebody also works a long time. He's much younger, and he's doing the heavy lifting. So I gave the heavy lifting to him. I'm the chairman. I'm the owner. I keep very much involved, but I'm not running the company anymore. I said to my CEO, I don't give unsolicited advice. You can always have my advice, but you have to ask me. That's my philosophy. And for the rest, I'm curious. I have a desire to learn. And this is my nature, and that's why you keep busy. You can do things that are not achievable, and you need to see the difference between what I believe is achievable and what is not achievable. And that's not so easy. But in any case, any entrepreneur that I meet is somebody that believed in something and fell down on his face because everybody said he's crazy, and didn't give up. Never give up.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching NEWS.MC, your English rendezvous on Monaco Info. Discover more interviews and stories on our websites, NEWS.MC and MonacoInfo.com. This show was brought to you by Monaco Legend Properties.